all the memories I remember of Lou being told to me was that he was always humming a tune. And I would say that the tune he was humming was the symphony of his life. A symphony with many movements, some sad, as they should have been, some very joyous, as they should have been. But by the time his life was complete, so too was the symphony, because there really wasn't any more notes that could have been added.
My father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1968. He tried to keep it a secret from his family. My mother learned about it accidentally, a year later, when his doctor called and left a message with her about a new prescription. My mother was in shock. My father just shrugged and tried to ignore it, but we couldn't. Parkinson's disease attacks the brain and affects normal movement. Until his death 33 years later, my father lived with the shaking, the tremors, the wobbling, the passing out, the 6 different medications taken 6 times a day, and the hallucinations. There are more than 1.5 million people in the United States who suffer from Parkinson's. I only knew one personally, Louis Salzman, my dad. This is a film about how my father struggled with Parkinson's disease and how my family coped with it.
As he progressed with the disease, there were just slight little changes so that it went from, my first really notice was like when I said when his gait kind of changed. And I can't say when, I mean when we really started him actually shaking, when his hands would have some sort of palsy motion, or we'd be sitting here like we were on the sofa and his hand, you could hear it thumping like that. You know, he'd have his hand up here and you around your shoulder and you could feel it like going like that, and he couldn't control it. And that was, I guess, it wasn't like a shocking realization, it was just like a notice that that was there and that was just going to be part of him.
But I remember going out to restaurants and waitresses like looking at him like he was drunk when he would order, because he would slur all his words. Or like in Chinese restaurants, and he'd have a chopstick in his hand. Although he didn't really eat with chopsticks, he had chopsticks in his hand, it'd become uncontrollable. And so he would start saying, I'm a drummer or I'm a maestro, you know, and he'd start acting goofy at a restaurant just to make us laugh, because I guess he was really scared and he used humor to try to mask some of his fears.
If you could, I'll take a little bit of record.
What do you want?
I'll take the cherry sauce mixed with lemon and a couple of eye drops. Anything else you have.
What do you want for breakfast?
I don't know.
Cherry sauce mixed with lemon.
Yeah, with some eye drop.
How about an egg?
And I'll take an egg too.
The wry sense of humor was really a defense mechanism in order to deal with the everyday problems and to cope with them instead of being totally depressed. He was able to try to find some humor in it and laugh at himself.
Did you fall down?
Yeah, I fell in.
Did you fall?
Yeah, I fell from heaven.
Did you fall though? What?
I fell in love with you.
I think he was tried to fight the disease. He went into experimental programs that they had at NIH.
Right, but one that he had to stay there for 2 weeks.
Right.
These were clinical trials, and he wouldn't do any more in-house clinical trials because he got to see how all these other people were and how debilitated they were. And he refused to accept himself as ever going to get like that, and it depressed him to see that. So he just sort of emotionally removed himself from like that was going to happen to him.
I've often thought my father's difficult childhood prepared him for his struggles with Parkinson's disease. First, his mother died in the 1918 flu epidemic, when he was an infant. His father remarried, and then he died of the flu and pneumonia. His stepmother soon abandoned my father and his sister Gertie. My father was only 3 years old.
I remember my stepmother. The only thing I remember of is bad thing, nothing good. She locked me in a vestibule in his house with my sister.
Oh. God, that's
And then she ran away. But I don't blame her. Those are hard times.
I love you.
My father and his sister grew up as orphans in a cold, unloving foster home. So when he married my mother and had 3 children, he finally found the loving family he never had.
We're here at the Hyatt Regency at the 50th anniversary of Sylvia and Lou Salzman. Our cameras are going to take us into their bedroom for a look at what they have in store. Let's go.
Your baby tonight, huh?
Tonight, Bob.
Yeah.
What was it like when you got married?
Tonight when we got married. Ugh.
She took care of him. She made sure he had everything. She made sure he was clean. She kept looking for different doctors for him.
Mm-hmm.
She kept trying different things with his medication, with his diet. I mean,
Oh, she did everything. She did above and beyond.
What do you think it was that actually kept you together all 50 years? What was the secret of your longevity and success?
Oh, the main thing was poverty. You couldn't afford to get away from it.
And a lot of times because he was so silent and lived in his own world, he would walk in the house and pitter and patter around, do his own little thing and not really talk to her or ask her, how do you feel, or think she had done all this. So it was a little resentful too that she felt maybe it was unappreciated, all that she did.
Yeah.
She didn't get much out of it. And as much as she told us, I guess, we can understand it better at our age now, but then not quite understanding how difficult it really was on her.
Well, how do you feel 50 years of marriage?
Because you really don't feel any differently than you did when you were 20 or 21 or 22. The only difference is when you look in the mirror and it tells you, look what's happened to you after 15 years.
Thank God the flash went out.
Wait, one more, so we can get a full
You stop eating for a minute.
What really bothered her was watching her husband deteriorate. She had seen my father raise himself from poverty and become a hard-working lawyer. When Parkinson's finally forced him to retire, he wanted to become a recluse. My mother wouldn't let him. She made him go out and kept him active.
These things really wore her down and exhausted her. I mean, it took all of her energy, and she really did feel that it was unfair.
And at the same time, she felt guilty feeling that way.
Right, and she felt guilty feeling that way.
So, I mean, it was
a no-win situation for her.
it was
with that.
very, very hard for her.
Yeah, get it.
My father shook all the time. This made him hungry, so he ate constantly. The food didn't always reach his mouth. There were crumbs everywhere, on the table, on the floor, in the phone, on the walls. My mother complained about it, but she always cleaned up behind him.
She was really, really afraid that one day she'd have to put him in an old age home. And remember, she started volunteering for Levendale. And at Levendale, she saw these people who had Parkinson's disease being placed there, and she was always afraid that that would be Daddy. Mm-hmm. And that was her biggest fear. She would cry about that. She would be so afraid that she'd have to make that decision and do that, that she would not, he would get so bad that she wouldn't be able to take care of him.
My mother died of cancer in 1995, leaving Dad's care to us. I live 1,400 miles away. My brother Bruce lived and worked between Baltimore and Florida. So most of the responsibility fell on my sister Ann, who lived a mile from my father. She worked with her husband in a retail business and was raising 2 kids. The pressure and tension for all of us were something we couldn't imagine.
My father did not trust anybody, really, other than his family, his immediate family. And even though we had to, at times, get other people in to give us some brief assistance, even if it's for a couple hours during the day, it was basically, I knew that it was family under a very difficult situation for him. It was family that he trusted and could be comfortable when it was still uncomfortable.
I mean, we differed on this. I mean, I really wanted him to be in assisted living before he got as bad as he was this year. The assisted living that we had looked in Dallas, there were people there, they had activities, and they had medical people there, and he didn't have to worry about his food. And it's different there than it is here. It's not old age homey. It's people who are active. They had mind things that were very active. And we went to a couple of them, and he really liked one of them. We ate there. We spent the whole day there. He seemed to enjoy it, and it was the kind of thing where you could try it out. You didn't have to sign on a dotted line for life or anything like that. You could try it out for a week or a month or something like that. And then he came back and he told Ann that he really wasn't serious about it. He was just saying that he was interested in doing it because he wanted to appease me.
Why?
It's not about a bunch of old people that are too old. They sleep up there half the time.
The realistic plan was for him to come down to Florida during the winter time, swim every day, squeeze his oranges down there, and just relax. Go up to the boardwalk and just live happily.
When he went to the JCC in Dallas, there was more interaction, and he acted differently. He socialized with people, and sometimes he shaved the night before so he could get dressed up, and he liked to do that. And he would participate in the intellectual conversations they had there. They used to have these groups and all like that. And this year Ian got him in a really good group at the daycare, which he seemed to semi-like. I mean, he complained about it sometimes, but most of the time he seemed happy. He talked to me.
Where'd you get that comb?
From one in the big old game.
You like it? Huh?
Yeah, it's a good comb. Call me Louie. My beard is blue. Oh, mustache. And just a girl. And mustache. I will see you in my next picture. It's called The Simpleton. Number 2.
He was basically alone in that house.
Cynthia,
And
he
if-
lived
and then-
alone, and he liked being alone, and he liked doing what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. As a matter of fact, after Mommy died, he told me that he had his own agenda. And I asked him, what would that be? He says, I'm going to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And that was his agenda. And that's what he wanted to do. And he did not mind being alone a lot.
But physically, he couldn't do all the things that he thought he could do. He would walk up to he would schlep himself, and he could barely walk, but he would walk, 5 blocks up to the supermarket. He would go to the supermarket, and he would buy the heaviest things he could possibly carry. He would fall down with them, or he would leave the bags on the hill.
But he wanted to do that. You see, he wanted to do that. He told me, and he told his doctor, his primary doctor, that a man should be able to do what he wants to do. And when he can't function and live a good quality life, then it's time to say goodbye. That's what he told him. And the doctor agreed. And that was his philosophy. He did not want the help. He liked being independent.
But the impact it had on your life.
It was difficult, Cynthia, but you know what? He was Daddy, so I helped him do what he wanted to do as best I could.
It looked like Albert. Albert is a good boy.
Who?
Albert.
Albert who?
Einstein.
It was very exhausting to be the caretaker. Not only did I have my family and I had a job, I had to get up every morning early, call him to make sure he got up for his medicine. After a while I realized he could no longer get up and get the medicine himself. So I had to run over to the house every morning, get him his medicine into him, because without that first dose of medicine, his day was not going to happen. It was going to be off from the get-go.
Daddy, you don't need your pills right now. Put that away.
Well, it's not in here.
Well, I don't know what you did with it, but put it away.
Throughout the day, I would have to call him. I would be on his schedule of medicine and calling him, no matter what I was doing with business or work.
And how many times a day was that?
It was every 3 hours. Every 3 hours. He would tell me he took it. I would come home. I would see the medicine sitting there. Sometimes he would remember. Sometimes he wouldn't. There were many times he never didn't answer the phone, so I didn't know what happened to him, so I just dropped everything. I left work. I came back, and I would find him. And, Dad, why didn't you answer the phone? He was just downstairs looking through stuff and going through things. It was tiring. There was a lot to do. We had various people in the house that would give us some help and relief. Nobody that he ever wanted to have stay over. He didn't like anybody else in the house. He didn't like these people, and it made it hard.
I'm supposed to take a pill, huh?
What time?
It's almost 8:30.
Well, you don't take a pill until 10.
I took the 7:30 pill.
Mm-hmm. You remember you were sort of out of it?
I was.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't sleep a lot. He didn't get restful sleep. He had a lot of nightmares, a lot of hallucinations during the night.
They look like leopards, but what did you call them?
Tiger bugs.
And where were they?
On the table.
Mm-hmm. And how do you catch them?
He said we're gonna. He says any bug is get a little scooper and scoop them out.
Well, go show Alan the tiger bugs.
I see the hair limit. Went out to the supper.
My father's pills caused some wild hallucinations. Once he called 911 and 4 policemen showed up to remove an imaginary Albanian family from his house. He wasn't afraid of the family. He was just distressed that they ate all his food and messed up his kitchen. The hallucinations were very real to him and pretty bizarre for us.
What are you doing, Lou?
I'm trying to make up a bunk. And that's right. These have shots of one of the leopard.
Show them what you used to pick them up. Where's your scooper?
A gun. I shoot him in the gun.
Well, where's your scooper, Daddy?
Scooper. I don't know what a scooper daddy is. Distinctly colored bug.
What color?
Black, orange with black dot. A pretty thing.
That sounds like a ladybug.
It must be a lady, but she's no lady around here.
As a person who had all these, you know, that you were the main caretaker, I mean, how did you feel about us?
About you and Bruce?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got angry. You guys were not really around helping. You know, he was your father too. And there were times when I felt you should have come in and helped out a little bit. It was very, very hard. My kids suffered from it, from me not being there and things that I missed out on. And that's basically, I really resented having to miss out on things for my children because I had to be here to take care of Mommy and Daddy. And that part I found very tough because you don't get that time back. And, I mean, as far as, you know, it happens in a lot of families where it's because people live in different parts of the country, it usually falls on one person in the family. Although, as much as, I mean, I would sometimes get so angry at you and Alan and Bruce for feeling that, you know, you did not do what I thought was at least a little bit of your part. I mean, I don't harbor that as a resentment. I wouldn't do that. Mommy and Daddy would have never wanted that. There are families that things like this pull them apart. They don't ever talk to each other again. That's it. They don't, that's the end of it, you know. And there are times that I felt like, you know, damn it, I'm not going to ever talk to you again. You know, that's it. Like, I just have had it.
I listen to my sister, and I feel guilty. Did I do enough? I think about it a lot. I would visit my father a couple times a year, and he would visit me in Dallas until it became too hard for him to travel. We all loved him, but Ann was the only one who took on the job as the primary caregiver. Could I ever have done enough? Which one of us was the better judge of what was best for my father and for our family? What I do know is that it created a lot of tension between us.
Daddy, go to bed. You're singing and you're waking everybody up.
It's time to get up.
Why?
The sun's coming
It's 4:30 in the morning. Come in, you hear something at 1 o'clock in the morning, he'd have everything out of the refrigerator, and he'd have a big knife in his hand, because he was always spreading something on something, some weird combination. Even if it was like peanut butter on a piece of cake or something. You have ice cream melting on the floor, and you say, you have to go to sleep now. You have to go to sleep now. You try to take the knife away, and he'd go, no. He said, why won't you let me have fun?
It was meant to be.
He was really something.
Probably one of the most difficult times was when he was having problems controlling his bladder, and he couldn't make it to the bathroom, and we'd have problems with him getting up in the night, either not finding the bathroom, or he was wearing these Depends and taking the Depends off, and it was a very upsetting time for him.
It came to a point where I had to dress him, I had to change him, I had to wipe him, bathe him, It was very embarrassing for him that I should see him naked. And I think emotionally that was a very, very difficult thing for him. And he was just forced to immediately let that go, as much as he did not, there was no choice for him but to let me do that for him.
Got to the point where we'd go through like maybe 3-4 Depends just in a morning and have to make the bed 2-3 times a day. And it was periods of this. They would go on for probably weeks at a time. And it was very upsetting to him at this point. He said, he used to say, I wish I was dead. And, as frustrating as it was to be cleaning him up and cleaning the area up, it was also difficult trying to emotionally balance the situation to get him to feel somewhat good again so that he felt a sense of worthiness. It wouldn't take much to make him happy. It might be a lottery ticket or an ice cream or a crab cake, or just really getting away from the house for a small period of time and getting something just to counterbalance the frustration he was dealing with as a human being.
Dad, how was day camp?
It was pretty good.
What'd you do?
I pissed in my pants.
Well, good. You did what?
I did, I really did.
You fell asleep there?
Yeah.
Where'd you sleep at?
Oh, there was bingo game.
During the bingo game?
Yeah.
And you still want a Hershey bar?
Yeah,
Right.
sure you got a lot of weight.
Daddy, you're falling down. Do you realize you're falling down?
I've been falling down all my life.
When he ate, his blood pressure was dropped. You had to watch him constantly. Really, he was like a child that you could never assume that he would totally be safe on his own. So when you took him out, you had to always keep your eye on him, what he was doing, particularly watch his face to see any signs of any change, because if not, he could be in severe trouble. When I've had to literally drag him across an entire road because he passed out in the middle of the road, and had to carry him across the road, carry him back to the car, try to get him in the car, lift him back in the car, try to get him in a position where his legs were elevated to try to get his blood back up.
My father's health was failing. The shaking was getting worse. He'd pass out a lot. He had trouble swallowing. But when his son, my brother Bruce, got married, he refused to let his condition hold him back. He flew to Florida for the wedding and celebrated with his family. Six months later, my father fell in the middle of the night. Fortunately, my brother was visiting from Florida and found him wedged between a door and a bureau. My father had broken his neck.
You want to hear what you did to your neck in the fall?
Fracture vertebrae,
That's right.
and we did some other superficial damages that will be compensated for. And when I get a good lawyer,
You're right. You're right. You
you fractured your vertebrae. That part is right.
Who are you
That
going to
is
sue,
right.
Daddy, for this?
Who are you suing?
So, my children,
Mm-hmm.
all of them.
What do you have to say to people who were just getting Parkinson's disease?
All of our I hope to make the best of it.
Have you found anything good in it?
Well, they do have a sense of humor and joke that have fun.
We really felt like he was going to get out and that there was a chance for him to recover at least 80% or more from the fall.
Nothing wrong with it.
There is nothing wrong with you?
No.
Well, what do you think you're here for?
Mm-hmm.
You think this is a vacation spot? Where are you going, Dad?
No.
It hurts, huh?
Mm,
Yeah, well, does that indicate something might be
I
wrong?
can't stand
Pain?
pain.
You can't stand pain? What do you think's going to happen if your neck doesn't get better and you come home and you haven't had all your therapy and your neck doesn't heal? What kind of pain do you think you're going to be in?
Pain, neck pain.
Uh-huh. You think that's going to be fun?
It's better than feet pain.
It is? How do you know?
Because it's Jewish pain.
It's a Jewish pain? Which is?
Neck.
How do you know it's a Jewish pain?
Like that.
You've got to get better here before you can get out of here.
I think all of us were hoping that he would be able to endure and work through the physical condition and actually come down to Florida, do things, go swimming, add some other dimensions into his life for him to see the next progression of our lives and not for his life to end here. We all felt that he had some more living to do, and I felt that he was determined enough that he also felt that he had more living to do.
So you're going to get well?
I hope so.
Okay.
My father seemed to be recovering. My sister and I were preparing to move him out of the hospital into a rehabilitation center.
You can't let this little fall get you down. Dad?
But suddenly,
Daddy?
his health took a deep decline.
Daddy? Hi. How you doing today? Daddy? You're doing lousy today? How come? Ask me
We
that.
later learned that he had fallen in the hospital when a nurse got him out of the bed in the middle of the night and left him unattended. We rallied around him. We didn't want to face the inevitable.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah, you did a good job. You did the hokey pokey.
My father's chances for normal recovery were slim. He had a living will. My brother, sister, and I wrestled with what to do. We were forced to make the final decision for him, whether or not to put him on life support. At one point he whispered, "Let me go." And we did. I still wonder if we did the right thing.
Never will it be a relief that he's not here. He was just a joy. He was a joy to be around. He was fun. He was fun. He was funny. He always could make me laugh. And There's no relief that he's gone.
What is he doing?
We're going for a walk. We're going to his lamppost.
Okay, have a good time.
Oh,